Welcome, everyone. I'm excited for you to join us for another JobTread Live today. We're going to be talking about getting organized and tracking the right information. So I'm excited to share some of the, kind of the best practices that we've come up with. So we've got some KPIs to go through. Just hopefully this will help you continue improving your business, help you grow your sales, improve your job operations. Make sure you're getting paid and you're hitting those target profit margins. You can also explore all of our past as well as our upcoming webinars on our website at jobtread.com/webinar. So love for you to check those out. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and just dive right in now. So what are key performance indicators, KPIs, if you hear me abbreviate it? Essentially it's a critical indicator of progress towards a desired result. So what are your goals? How are you going to achieve those goals? Like, it's really important that you establish your goals for your business. I think starting at the very top level, kind of, overarching goals, how do you want to perform this year? And then you can start to break down smaller goals, along the way to figure out how you can improve, those goals, which will ultimately hit your overarching goals. And understanding and determining certain metrics that you're going to be able to use to track your progress. And then, having certain times that you're going to review those metrics, to understand, are you making progress? Where are you getting bottlenecked? Where are you not hitting your goals? And then, what are you going to do to reach those goals? If you don't track the data and if you don't analyze the data in real time and as you're running your business, throughout the year, then, you're not going to, be able to hit those goals as efficiently as you would if you were tracking it. There's also, kind of two types of goals that that you got your SMART goals, and then you've got stretch goals. Really today we're going to be focused mainly on the SMART goals. They're very specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Stretch goals are your much bigger picture, kind of your higher level, what you want to do at the business, why you're there. But we really today want to focus on those kind of more SMART goals, those ones that are very attainable and specific, so that you can continue improving the business. So, why should you care about these KPIs? Again, I've already alluded to a little bit, but it's going to help you to improve the way that you're running your business, you're managing your business. Today we're going to dive into, kind of sales and marketing KPIs, your job performance, vendor performance, as well as touch on some of those overall business performance. But, at the end of the day, every single business is unique, and so the way you run your business, the way that, you manage your sales, you manage your operations, like, you're going to need to come up with specific goals and KPIs for your business. There's not always a one size fits all here. Obviously you can kind of learn from others, and hopefully some of these ideas will fit for your business. But at the end of the day, like, always remember, like, it's up to you to establish those goals and those KPIs, based on your situation, based on, the products and the services that you're selling, the people, the way you run your business. So, these are, again, kind of just some high level, some kind of more general takeaways that I've learned over the years from running multiple businesses here. So, we'll kind of leave it at that, but just know, there's not everything may work for you. It's important that you tailor, this to your specific company. So let's dive in here. So sales and marketing, at the very top of the sales funnel here, at the very kind of top of, any organization, any sales organization, like, you've got to focus on your lead generation. So, how are you getting your leads? Like, where are they coming from? Understanding the lead sources, that are driving leads to your company, whether it's your website, whether it's referrals, whether you're running, advertisements, or people finding you on search and you're leveraging, SEO, whatever it may be, you need to make sure that you're tracking that. So if you're not tracking it, you can very easily just blow through a marketing budget and not have any idea the impact of that. One specific example I've got. So in my last software company, we were selling software to higher education, and we started running Google ads. And basically we started the ads and we had a budget set, but we weren't really tracking who was coming from those ads and were they converting. And so, like, I basically wasn't managing it very well. And, a few months in, I logged back in and I checked, and I realized that we had just blown through thousands of dollars and I had nothing to show for it. I had no idea the leads that came from the ads. And so it was very hard for me to tie an ROI and to understand the effectiveness of those ads. So, here at JobTread, I meticulously track every single, lead source. So every time someone comes to our website, hopefully we've got it kind of automatically tracked. But if not, if someone signs up and we don't know how they heard about us, we always make sure to ask them how they found out about us. And we track that every single time for every single customer, every single lead. So that helps us understand for our marketing efforts, what is working, what is the most effective, use of our marketing spend. And so you got to track that. Now, in addition to that, though, understanding the different types of leads, what are their needs? Or if you're doing multiple services, if you're doing, if you're a remodeler and you're doing, kitchen remodels and bath remodels and, outdoor living, like understanding what are the needs of these leads and tracking that is extremely important, because again, it's going to help you to determine, what is the most effective, type of customer that you want to work with. When their needs are X, you can look at the conversion from lead to customer based on, what type of customer, what are their needs? I mean, was it commercial? Was it, residential? Are they a homeowner? Are they, whatever it is, keeping track of that is going to like astronomically help you improve your targeting and your lead generation, your marketing, advertising. And so it's so important to track that. Also too, if you're, if you've got salespeople, then you want to make sure that you're signing out your leads to the salespeople so that somebody is taking ownership of that. And then also, you can tie and look at the effectiveness of the salesperson from, lead generation through to, basically becoming a customer. So, once you get them in there, though, I think the next most important thing, and again, this is where everyone's process may be a little bit differently, but like the number one thing you can do is reach out to every single lead as fast as possible. So I'm a big proponent of, tracking the very first time we called them to make sure that we've reached out to them. Even if you left a voicemail, even if they didn't answer, whatever it is, make sure that you're tracking that, because the Harvard Business Review put out a study, this is several years ago, but they found that if you want to have the highest chance of converting a lead to a customer, if you call them within the first 5 minutes of them submitting an inquiry, you have a 10x greater chance of converting them to a customer. So it just goes to show that the faster you respond, the more likely you are to get them to convert into a customer. And every single, kind of couple minutes, it's going down. And, obviously, if you're not following up for a couple days or for weeks or months, like you're not going to likely get that customer. They're going to go and they're going to look for, some other contractor. They're going to reach out to other people. Like people these days want responsiveness, and they value somebody who's going to respond to them as fast as possible. Now, again, I realize that might not be that might not be possible for everyone. If you're also out on the tools and you're out on the job site working, you can't always drop what you're doing to follow up. And again, that's where though if you start to kind of see that your responsiveness is not as good as it should be, and that you're not getting them to the next stage, then you might want to look at how you can either task someone else in the office to make those initial calls, or maybe you need to start looking at, hiring someone to come in and basically take on, the estimating, the sales role, or even a virtual assistant, whatever it is. You need to make sure that you're being as responsive as possible. It's one thing to kind of have an automated response email to say, hey, we got your inquiry, but at the end of the day, like they want to talk to someone. They want to know, if you're going to be a good fit. And so the faster you can do that, the better. And then after that, again, I think that, or the goal of that call, whether some people like to just try to essentially pre-qualify them, figure out like what is their budget, who is the decision maker, when are you looking to move forward, obviously collect all those qualification data points there and track all that as well. But either your next step is going to be to, send them a, basically if you got enough information, if they provided you pictures, measurements, things like that, where you can just generate a proposal and send it off to them, you could do that. Or, if it's a larger project, maybe you need to schedule an appointment, schedule a time to go out to the job site, to really talk through the project, to get more of the details. And so I would say, if you're going that route, then again, tracking, was that appointment, when was the appointment set and was the appointment held? Sometimes people have cancellations and they're not able to actually have a high enough kind of appointment set to appointment held, ratio there. So if you need to track that, you can, otherwise I'd say just, what was the day that you went out on site, to do that pitch? And then, hopefully, I mean, again, if a lot of people, if you're using JobTread, I know they take their iPads out there, their tablets, and they're, sitting there kind of working up the proposal, building out the budget, like right there on site, and they can give the prospect, the price and the proposal right there, and, hopefully even sign off on it. Otherwise, if you do need to go back, kind of send out some bid requests, collect some more cost data, work up a bid, maybe do some drawings, things like that. It could take you, a couple hours, couple days, however long it is, track when did you send that proposal? When did you send that estimate? Like, until you have sent them a price, you have not asked for the sale. You have to give them, a very concrete price and the ability to sign off and accept your job in order to be able to, convert them to a customer. So understanding how long did it take from the lead to come in, for you to call them, to set the appointment, to deliver that estimate, that proposal, like, looking at that and analyzing and tracking that can lead to some insights later where you can see that maybe you're getting bottlenecked on one part of that process. Ultimately, though, also tracking the day that they approve the order. And, that's going to tell you from start to finish, how long did it take you to convert that lead to a customer? Another important thing that I think, to analyze and track and make sure you're looking at is, what is your target profit margin, that you're selling these jobs at? Because again, like if you're pricing your job too high, then that could also lead to delays. Or, potentially if you got different salespeople and they may be using discounting or, some other, kind of thing that's leading to a variable profit margin for your jobs, then, you want to track that and you want to understand that and how that could also potentially affect your close rates. Because, again, maybe if you're not closing any deals, then potentially your price and your target margin is too high, but if you're closing deals like instantly every single time, you may be leaving money on the table. And so in order to understand that, you've got to track all this information here. So, I know I've kind of sort of talked through some of these, but let me kind of, give you some more concrete examples of some insights that you can gain from tracking this data. So what is the volume of leads by lead source, and the ROI? So that's going to help you figure out where to allocate your marketing dollars and make sure that you are investing in the things that are going to lead to the highest volume and give you the most bang for your buck. Now sometimes those could be, at odds. If you're a new company, you may be willing to, spend more money at a lower, ROI if it's going to give you a higher volume and give you more at bats to try to close more deals. But obviously, as you scale and you grow and you start to want to refine that and you want to really focus in on your key, kind of target customers, then you might want to go more for the higher ROI, the lower volume. And so, again, just understanding that and tracking the lead source is going to drastically help you improve on that. We talked about the response times already, making sure you're following up, looking at the percentage of your leads that you send proposals to. So not every single lead is going to be a qualified lead that you want to follow up with. And that's where, again, that initial call to help you pre-qualify them to understand, are they a good customer for your business? Is this going to result in, having a high profit margin job leading to, customer satisfaction? There's a lot of times where, you just get a lot of tire kickers. And so you want to weed those out, on that initial call. To the best of your ability. Just because you get leads and high volume of leads doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to be qualified. And so, you certainly don't want to have to go out on site and spend time, doing a full-blown, dog and pony show here, to find out that they're not even a great lead for you. Do that beforehand. And so just because you don't have 100%, lead to, to proposal sent, that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It could mean that you're doing a really good job at pre-qualifying your leads, but at the same time, it might mean that some of your lead sources are leading to lower quality leads, and you might want to go and figure out how to improve that. And then also looking at, again, the percentage of the proposals that you sent converting into customers. That can give you tons of insight into, again, who are your best sales reps? What are they doing? How are they effectively delivering this pitch versus some others who might not be performing as well? What do their proposals look like? How are they organizing that proposal to the customer? Are they given, less information? Are they given more information? That those kind of little, details could really help you take potentially an underperformer or just not your top performer and elevate them to get them to that level of being that top level performer. Just understanding what your best performers are doing is going to help you to continue to refine the other guys so that you can build an overall A player A-player team. Looking at, again, the overall percentage of leads that are converting into customers, again, things you can look at here, kind of the type of customer they are. Are they a homeowner? Are they residential? Are they, commercial? What are their needs? Like understanding, this information is going to really help you to refine who you're targeting, is going to continue to improve that conversion ratio. Also understand the average time to convert from a lead to a customer. That's going to do a lot of things. I mean, obviously you want to shorten your sales cycle as much as you possibly can. And so when you can at least understand that sales cycle, that's going to help you to project your future sales as well. That's going to help you to then manage your cash flow. Like if you know that it's going to take, X number of leads in order to convert to, Y number of customers in order to generate the sales that you need to hit for that month, then you can start to back into, well, how many inbound leads do I need to get, in order to close that many customers that month? And again, if you've got, if it's got a month or a couple of months of lead time, well, then remember, like you need to invest in the leads and the lead generation before the month that you need to hit that goal. So you're going to have to take that into account when you're projecting out your sales, and that's going to just overall help you, better understand your business, the cyclicality of it. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit, but again, moving on, looking at close rates, revenue generated by sales rep, these are all things that you can start to look at by tracking this data and understanding who is going to follow up with each lead. Also looking at your most profitable types of customers, and the jobs that you're trying to sell, like, you got to make sure that you're doing the work that's going to lead to the highest profitability for your company. You have to make sure that you're maximizing all of your efforts. If you're running jobs and barely going to make any money, then what's the point? Figure out how you can sell a higher margin, higher product to the customers. Maybe you need to target different customers. Maybe you need to, refine the types of services you're trying to offer, but like you got to make money. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels and wasting everyone's time and money here. So, really understanding what is your ideal customer, the ideal job, the thing that you can do that is resulting in the most money being made is ultimately going to help you scale your business. You want to go do more of that and less of the things that aren't leading to your profit growth and your overall business growth. And then target margins. Again, if you see some sales reps, I mean, just because they're closing more deals, but they're doing it at half of the profit as another, salesperson. Well, doing more jobs, but making less money. I mean, you could have to do twice as many jobs to make the same amount of profit. Do fewer jobs and have more availability and more capacity if you can increase that profit. And so really tracking that to understand will help you to further increase your sales and marketing efforts here. So hopefully those are, some ideas that you guys can kind of start thinking about. And really when you're starting to try to set your goals, and figure out what data you want to track, sort of start thinking through what will give us the most insight on how we can improve our sales and our marketing processes and our effectiveness. So now let's move on to the job performance KPIs. So again, like when did you win that deal? Like when is the start date? The day that the customer signs off on that, that proposal that you sent them. I mean, that is the day they became a customer. So you don't necessarily have to have the same, kind of work start date or project start date, but understanding when are you expected to start this job for that customer, and then being able to compare that to the actual date that you started the job. That's going to help you understand, how effective are you at, projecting your scheduling, setting that expectation for the customer. Same thing. When do you expect to be able to complete this job versus the actual completion date? Estimated number of hours. So, if you're using employees and you're having to estimate how many hours you think it's going to take them, then, track that and then compare that to the actual hours that it's going to take you. That's going to help you continue to refine, your estimating, and you're going to better understand, are we accurately pricing these jobs? Are we accurately estimating them? Are we hitting our target completion, dates? And if you're not, then there's a whole variety of reasons that you might not, but you need to understand that. And in order to do that and to be able to analyze that, you have to track this data. So when we look at, kind of from a financial standpoint, again, just because you sell a job does not mean that you're going to actually get paid on that job. The thing that matters is, did you collect the revenue? Did you collect that? They agreed to it, but until they have paid you, it is not revenue. It is not sales. It is not money in the bank. So making sure that you're collecting that is extremely important. And we highly recommend that you collect deposits up front. You collect, progress invoices along the way. You have a final invoice, at the end. Do not wait till the end of a job to invoice for the full amount. Like, you are putting all of the risk on you. You need to collect up front and along the way. And so in order to be able to do that successfully, you need to track that along the way. So understanding the percentage that you've invoiced, the percentage that you've collected, what's outstanding, what still needs to be invoiced. These are very important metrics to make sure that you're tracking so that you can, keep managing that, the cash flow along the way. And then from your budgeted cost, whenever they signed off on that, whatever budget you had put into that for your cost, set that is the final budget, and then track all of your actuals along the whole job to understand how are we tracking against our budget. In with JobTread, like, we project how much this job is going to cost you. We show you, a projected amount. We show you your cost to complete. We show you your actuals. So we give you all of this data so that you can in real time better manage the job cost to ensure that you're going to hit your target profit margin. So again, like I said here, budgeted profit versus your actual profit. You sold the job, at X. What did you actually end up at for that job? So like, these are just so important to be able to do that here. When I took over the GC where I first built out JobTread, one of the number one things we did, was essentially started doing the job costing. Like, when I walked in, like, our profit margins were literally all over the map. My initial advice is, you guys might as well go to Vegas and roll the dice. This is a total crapshoot how you're going to perform on a job. And so, obviously that wasn't, my real advice. My real advice, and as we got into it and we learned what we needed to do, was we need to set our budget. When we send out a proposal, no more, making up prices. We're going to have our cost, our budget is going to be established when the customer signs off on that. And then we're going to manage all of our cost along the way. And so that's where we were able to then drastically improve our profit margins. We increased our target profit margin, our gross profit margins by 43% once we started tracking our job cost. We understood and we made sure that we only paid for the materials and we only paid for the work that we had essentially allocated in that budget. We didn't accidentally, overpay or have, double bills or like anything, because we were tracking it. There's so many ways that you can end up losing money. And if you're not tracking that, if you don't understand your job's performance as you're running the job, there's no way that you're going to hit those target profit margins. You can sell a job at anything, but if you can't actually run and execute the job and hit that target profit margin, then what's the point? So it's so important that you're doing all of the job costing and tracking these KPIs, and again, some of the insights here, it's going to lead you to better understand the accuracy of how you're estimating those jobs. Are you budgeting correctly? Do you have the correct cost? I'll still never forget this one time. Every time we did work for this particular customer in Houston, when we did fencing jobs, we lost 10 to 12% on every single job. This went on for 6 months. This is before I stepped in, obviously. And when I got in there and I started analyzing the data, I understood and I saw that we were just hemorrhaging money every time we worked for this one customer doing this one type of job. It made no sense, but we didn't ever see that because we didn't have any job performance and KPIs set up to help us monitor our progress. As soon as we got in there and we started seeing that, ultimately what that particular situation tracked down to was we never updated our cost for the materials. And so we were sending out underbid jobs every single time. All right. So being able to, figure that out and have that and tracking that is so important. Now we can also start looking at our project managers, efficiency at completing projects on budget. If we give a project manager a budget, it doesn't matter what we sold the project at. That's not their problem. Here is your budget. Hit this budget. And the way that, again, what we did here is we tied both the salesperson and the project manager's compensation. We essentially gave them a commission based on the gross profit of the job. And so what do you know? As soon as that comes into play, we started hitting our target budgets every single time. And if we ever went over, we understood why and we course corrected. We'd never made the same mistake twice, but you got to have that information and you got to track that. Same thing for your crews, whether it's your own employees, your subs, how efficient are they at completing the projects on time? I went out, for a couple of days and started following the different subs, to see why some of them were underperforming. They were taking way longer than what we had, essentially expected them to. But other guys, they were able to complete their jobs on time and on, every time. So, I started following and started understanding them, but like, I didn't have any idea that that was the case until we started tracking the crew efficiency, tracking our estimated time to completion versus our actual time to completion. And so by having that insight, I then knew where to go and look and dig deeper to try to find ways that we could continue streamlining the underperforming crews to elevate them and get them up, to where we expected them to be, so that we could hit our target, timelines, our target budgets, and our goals. Also understanding the types of customers and the jobs. I talked about this on the sales side. It's also extremely important here on, the job performance side, because if you get into, a job and you keep having the same issues, well, again, if it's not maybe the crew or the project manager, you need to start looking at the customer. Is this a trend? Is this happening, with multiple customers? If so, then maybe it's the type of customer, or is it the type of job that you're trying to execute on? Like, maybe it's just not your core competency. Maybe you shouldn't be agreeing to do that. If you sell jobs and you can't deliver on them, if you're always over budget, if you're always losing money, then, you need to either improve how you're estimating the cost. You need to increase the price, increase the profit margin to, basically give yourself more of a buffer, or you need to find the right crews. Maybe you're sending the wrong people out, or maybe you need to stop doing that type of work. There's a whole host of reasons, but at the end of the day, like, you need to know where to look and then start drilling in and understanding why is that happening and how am I going to fix that? And then track your progress on future jobs to say, did I fix that? Is that improving? Are we moving in the right direction? And if you just can't get it, then just stop selling those jobs, quit doing that work, and focus on what is working for you. We talked about this a little bit, but your efficiency at collecting progress payments, our deposits up front and progress payments along the way to fund the cash flow of the job. When I went into the GC, like, we weren't collecting anything up front. We basically, would take on, and have to go put out all the cash for the materials. If it was a long job, we might have to pay, the crews, the subs along the way, and we weren't invoicing till the very end. Well, that's not the smart way to do it. You need to try to take, and collect some cash up front to fund the cost, fund the cash flow for that job. Send out, your purchase orders and your work orders and purchase, the materials once you have cash in hand. There's no reason that you should have to pull from your cash to go and fund the materials for a future job. If you can collect up front, then do it. Whether it's 20%, 30%, 50% up front, if people aren't comfortable, paying you some of the labor up front, which, I've heard that, fine. Just collect for some of the materials, collect for all the material costs, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, you buy the materials, you put it on the job site, it's there on the homeowner's property. So they shouldn't have an issue with that. Make sure you're collecting up front and just to the best of your ability, use the customer's cash to fund the job. That's going to help you to be able to take on more concurrent projects and be able to continue operating the business without putting yourself at risk. Because one bad mistake, one issue where you got to go and now outlay additional cash that you don't have, that can put you in real trouble. That could mean you might not be able to make payroll. That might mean that you might not be able to start up, another job that's supposed to get going. Like, you don't want to get yourself in that situation. So making sure that you're collecting along the way and keep track of that, set those milestones, have those payment schedules, be sure you're collecting is so important. Just because you send the invoice, you need to collect the payment. And then looking at the profitability by cost item, by cost type, with JobTread, like we have awesome budgeting tool to help you do that. And that was, again, one of those things that I uncovered while running the GC is that, we were just losing money on one particular item sometimes. It could have been, maybe it was a particular, type of labor that we were doing. Maybe it was one of the key materials that we didn't have the right price for, or that we're underestimating our need, when we did the takeoff, whatever it may be. Like, you need to make sure that you're tracking your profitability on a line by line basis. I'm not saying you got to track every single box of nails and screws, because that really isn't going to ultimately make a huge impact. But like those key cost drivers, you need to break those out, and you need to make sure that you're understanding your cost and making sure that, the cost that you're putting into your estimate is the cost that you're actually paying, and if you're unsure, or for types of, materials that are, fluctuating in price, send out those bid requests. ask the suppliers to give you a price lock for, whether it's, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is, make them submit a bid request to you with that price, and then you take that price and you put it into your budget, you get your target margin on top, and then you order the material once the customer approves, and like you've now locked in your price, but if that's not happening, or if for whatever reason, you need to understand what line items in your budget are, overrunning, where are you losing money so that you can course correct and not make those same mistakes twice. So turning here to, focusing on, again, like the vendors, like, whether it's your suppliers, whether it's your subcontractors, tracking this information and just kind of thinking through, like, how can you make sure you're as efficient as possible? Our bid request. I mean, so if you're sending out bid requests, when did you send it? And when did you receive their response? Are they being responsive? It all comes back to how quickly can we turn out proposals to the customers? Well, you need to make sure that when you need answers, when you need to get updated costs, you've got good, suppliers and subs who are going to be, responsive to your needs, because that can drastically affect if you're going to win that deal or not. So making sure you understand who your go-tos are, who's going to get back to you is so important. And then also looking at, like, is the pricing that they're given to you, in the bid request or up front, is that matching the actuals? You should also be sending them purchase orders, work orders along the ways, and then, like, at the end of the day, though, when they bill you, when you get their bill, does that amount match what you agreed to pay them and what they told you they were going to charge from the very beginning? Sometimes it doesn't. And, they come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. And I saw this, I lived through it, and understanding who is doing that, which particular suppliers or subcontractors are doing that, and tracking that is going to help you to, again, understand who you want to keep doing business with. You want the most trustworthy, reliable subs and suppliers to be able to manage your jobs and to be involved in your jobs so that you can hit your target profit margins. What we ended up doing at the GCRN, a great kind of thing that you can do here in JobTread, create a rating system, create a, whether it's, kind of tracking, reviews from the project managers, how did this sub perform? You give them a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 star. How did the customer rate the sub? Were they satisfied? Did they have complaints? Was the sub smoking on the property? Were they, just taking off early? Were they leaving trash around? Like, any of those types of things should ding their rating, and ultimately what you want to do is build up a solid, stable of, supplier subs that got 5 stars. So every time you can go through, use a 5-star sub, awesome, do it. Now, if they're booked and you need to get a job, then maybe you got to dip down into the 4-star, or, maybe, you're getting a little bit desperate, a 3-star, but like, absolutely, your 1 and 2 stars, like, unless like you are in just a total bind, huge pickle, like you got to do it, it's your last resort, at least you understand and you're going into it knowing, that you're potentially going to have an issue. And that's going to then help you sort of mitigate that by being more involved in the project or whatever it may be. But like, rate your subs, rate your vendors, keep track of them. And those guys who are, kicking ass, taking names, getting 5 stars, man, give them a little extra something, give them an extra bonus, give them an extra incentive, like, reward that. That will lead to more continued awesomeness from those guys, and they will just keep being devoted to you and delivering that high quality work that you're expecting. And the other guys who aren't there yet, they're going to see that, and they're going to want to be like that. Hopefully, if they're not, they may need to, not be used anymore. But, hopefully you can motivate those 3 and 4 stars, and you can train them up to that 5-star level. But until you have, quantified and have a metric to track that, again, you don't have an established practice. You don't have a goal for them. Like, you've got to give them that. And looking again at the pricing, I see so many times that so many businesses get comfortable with their suppliers and they want to keep doing business with the same guy, but like, what they don't realize is that guy's increased his price 30-40% more than some other guy who wants to come in here and win your business. You always got to be comparing, apples to apples, pricing from your suppliers, as well as from your subs. Like, you can't let these guys get comfortable, and you got to make sure that you're constantly checking what that market rate is, for those materials, for that work to be done. Don't get complacent, because again, like, you might think you're getting the best deal and you might be selling it at that profit margin, but man, what if you can get that product, or that service done for 10-20% cheaper? That's more money in your pocket. Don't leave those opportunities out. Like, go get that, focus on that. Even after you've won the job, you can still send out bid requests and try to buy down that cost. You can increase your gross profit and your target profit margins on a job, even after you've sold the job at the target margin. So look, do the work, track it, make sure you're always getting the best deal for yourself. It's not just for the customer. Come figure out how you can continue to improve your profitability even after you've sold the job. Probably one of the most important things to track, again, the start date, as well as, do you have their certificate of insurance and when is it going to expire? I might have heard me tell this story before if you've listened to some of my other webinars, but right after I took over this GC, we ended up getting audited by our insurance provider, and they said they wanted to see all of our sub COIs from for the last 12 months worth of work. And I said, okay, started asking around, hey, where do we got these saved? And basically we weren't organized, we weren't tracking it. And unfortunately, there were a couple of guys that knew to provide it to us, and they just sort of voluntarily sent it. But because we didn't ask for an update every year, a lot of the guys never provided one. They didn't renew the policy. We couldn't provide it. We ended up getting fined $35,000 by our insurance provider because we were sending subs without a CO. Again, I just took over the business. I had no idea that we needed to track this, but what a silly fine to receive. All we needed to do is track when the renewal rate was so that we followed up with them. Do it. It costs you nothing. And then looking again at the estimated time to complete versus the actual time, and this both, whether it's an employee, or it's a sub, how long are they telling you? If they tell you it's going to take 5 days to complete something, then look at the actual, did it take them 5 days? Now hopefully, if you got a fixed price from them, and they said 5 and it took them 7, well, at least you're not out any more money because you have a fixed guaranteed amount with them. And so that extra time, that's on them. But at the same time, it does affect your time to complete the project. It affects what you told the customer and that expectation that you set. It affects when you can start that next job if you need that same crew. And so understanding their efficiency and their effectiveness at estimating time to complete is so important. So you got to track that. You got to analyze that. So I'm sure I probably already went into some of this, but again, which vendors are providing, the best pricing for both your labor, your materials, making sure that when they started, that you have a W-9 on file, that you have, their COI, you're tracking those renewal dates. Don't make that mistake. There's literally no reason to do that. Understand how vendors and material prices are changing over time. You've got to be able to track that, and again, if some, materials, certain materials are just, in today's day, the price fluctuation is all over the map. So being able to understand that and see who is, kind of able to stay consistent, who's giving you the best pricing, it's constantly changing. So being able to compare your subs and your vendors pricing apples to apples against, their competitors, it's so important. It's going to help you get the best price for your jobs. Consistency with the bids versus the actuals. We talked about that. And again, how good are your subs at estimating their time to complete the work? Super important. So let's just kind of move on here. Some again, high level business insights. You need to be able to analyze and identify historical trends over time. You can't just think that because I collect some data today, it's going to just instantly give you that insight. No, it takes time. You have to start looking at, month by month, quarter by quarter, year over year, make it part of the process, track the data so that you can start trying to identify those trends. That's how, when I ran the GC, I was able to understand that certain customers, because, and some of these might've been national brands. We worked at a lot of different, locations all over the country, certain customers, they were nailing us, we just could not turn out our target profit margin. It just couldn't happen. And so we stopped doing work for them because no matter what we did, it wasn't going to make financial sense for us to do that versus focusing on the customers who are going to actually pay us our target profit margin, and we could earn what we deserve. So being able to understand that and tracking that data, it sometimes takes, several months of data to understand, where you can improve. Again, this is, from Business Insight, helping you, improve your forecasting based on those trends. Being able to understand and forecast your cash flow and your needs to be able to grow the business is going to help hey, what profit margins do I need to be selling my jobs at? How much money do I need to be putting away to cover all of my operating costs every month? How much money do I need to make today to be able to hire someone tomorrow? Do you need to go take out a loan? Do you need to, bring in some investors? Whatever it may be, if you're not tracking the data, it's going to be a lot harder for you to forecast your future sales and your future profits in order to make sure that you can sustainably grow your business at the pace that you're going. Understanding, your business cyclicality. So like, again, like what we figured out running that GC is like, we struggled in the colder months, over the winter to pour concrete and sell concrete jobs, because you can't pour concrete, but below like 40 degrees or something. So it was like, we had to come up with other products that we could sell, other services that we could deliver during those down months. And so that's when we got into like more waterproofing and, gutter cleaning. And, we found other ways to subsidize that income that we were going to lose out because we couldn't do certain types of jobs during those winter months. So understanding your cyclicality and what jobs you're selling and where your jobs are dropping off can help you figure out, again, ultimately, you might need to invest in some advertising to drive more customers of a new type, or, whatever it may be during those down months. But that's the time that you need to invest more so that you can try to not have that huge dip and that drop on, on your jobs and your revenue and ultimately your profits during those months. Again, we talked about this a lot, but updating your costs, making sure that you have accurate, up-to-date costs for all of your materials, is so important. So when you can start identifying those underperforming line items in your budgets, like whether it's, key cost, for materials or for labor or for whatever it is, if you don't understand where you're losing money, then how are you going to improve? How are you going to update it? And then once you do know, go take that action, fix it, solve the problem. Do not make the same mistake over and over again. And it makes no sense. I mean, you got to make sure that you're course correcting and you're spotting those issues early on. Hopefully you can see it before the job's done and you can issue a change order, but worst case, you don't, you take a hit. Don't keep doing that. Fix it. You can charge more, find a different supplier, whatever it is, improve your costing so that you can more accurately price your jobs. We talked a lot about, again, optimizing your marketing, your advertising spend, making sure that you're getting the best ROI possible. Not all marketing efforts, not all advertising is equal. Like you can knock on 1,000 doors and you can send 10,000 ads and, you're going to get different returns. So understand what is working for your business and go do that and cut the underperforming. You just can't afford to spend money on things that aren't working for you. I mean, for example, here at JobTread, like, we very meticulously track our customer acquisition costs, and we look at every single lead source and we aggregate that by month, by year, and we understand where we should invest all of our advertising, our marketing dollars to make sure that we're getting that highest ROI and that we're driving the best, highest quality customers to us who are going to end up, being great customers, and they're going to stay with us and they're going to grow their business and have success. Seeing where you're underperforming, so that you can hold people accountable. That's so important. Like if you don't know what salespeople are underperforming or what project managers or what crews, like how are you going to hold them accountable? How can you give them a benchmark and say, hey, I want you to get to here? You need that. That's so important. You have to continually improve and hold your people accountable. Just have those, whether it's weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, do those performance reviews with your people. Hold them accountable, show them and tell them where you want them to be and help them get there. And if they can't get there, then they might not be a good fit for your company. And this is also, again, making sure that you got a handle on what do you need from, a workload standpoint, if you're growing your business, astronomically, do you have the capacity to do that? If you're having to schedule months out, then you need to increase your capacity. You need to build a stable of subs that are available to you so that you can take on those jobs and you can do them sooner, because the longer a customer has to wait, the more likely they are to go find somebody else who can do it sooner. Again, people love to get things done. They like the responsiveness, like, in today's day and age, I mean, unfortunately, just like that instant gratification is just more and more prevalent. So you got to make sure that you can manage your growth and you can hit that, kind of hit those target, dates for completion. But if you don't have enough people, like spend more time recruiting more subs, and again, track their progress, track the quality, make sure they're good. You might find some awesome players to bring in and you might be able to cut some of your underperformers. Just being aware of all that and making sure that you're constantly focusing on growing your production capacity, your workload is so important. And then again, I think I've reiterated this over and over, like focusing on the highest, most profitable customers and types of jobs is so important. Do not go do the same thing over and over if you're losing money. If you're not making the money that you deserve, if that profit can't fuel the operating cost for the business, then don't do that. There's no point. understand where you are most effective and where you're most profitable and what your strengths are, your core competencies are. Go do that and don't do the other stuff that isn't working. So kind of to sum it up here, like I hope that everyone will start taking action today. If you're not doing this type of stuff, if you haven't identified those KPIs, like you need to start now. So again, figure out your high level goals, figure out what you want to learn, identify what data that you have today, what you are tracking today, but what you also need to start tracking. Figure out those processes, implement systems to track and collect this data. It's so important that you have, a solid process in place to make sure that you're collecting the data that you need. I hear all the time, and a lot of times people have, coaches, and they have, different programs where like they want them to submit all this data and fill out these, spreadsheets and things like that. And it just doesn't happen. So make sure that you incorporate it into your process. Do it. You have to do the work in order to get the data to be able to understand your performance. So take the time to identify how and when you're going to enter that data, track that data. Even if it's a little bit more work, it's very much worth it. It is how you will build a successful business. It's so important to track that data. And then again, once you've established your KPIs, share them with your team. Like you need to have everybody on board so that you can all as an entire team focus on achieving your goals. Some people might think I'm crazy to want to tell our subs like, hey, we need to hit this profit margin. And when you run up the cost and when you take too long, that's affecting our profit margin. But when I explain to them that what we need to do and how many jobs we need to sell and how we want to grow the business and how we're going to take that profit and invest it in the business and invest it in more sales and marketing so that we can win more customers and make more jobs so that we can pay them more, then they start to get it. They understand it's a full cycle here. Like we have to basically do all of the blocking and tackling, and we have to work together as a team to achieve our team goals. This isn't just you, business owner. This is your entire team that needs to be involved in this, and being as open and transparent as you can, with those goals. I mean, here at JobTread, we literally have dashboards all over the walls of our office. Like we got sales dashboards, we got customer success dashboards, we have adoption dashboards, we got support dashboards. Like we literally have these everywhere, and we're all aware of what everybody's doing, what our goals are, and where we're at any given moment. And that's what helps us continually improve because we're focused on it. We've identified our KPI. We know how to track our performance, and we're all aware of it. And we all keep working to do better and better and better. And that's how you grow a business. That's how you scale a business. That's how you build and create a very profitable business. And it takes a team effort of great players. And so, hopefully, today you've picked up some tips, tricks, some good ideas here that you can start implementing. Obviously, I'd be remiss to not say that JobTread can help you. We are a great tool. I built it out of a needs basis. When I took over that GC, we were doing 5 million in sales. I gave them 1 year. I built out the first version of JobTread. I was able to grow them from 5 to 8 million in sales, and I increased our gross profit by 43%. We were consistently hitting our target profit margins. When I went in, we could concurrently manage 10 to 15 jobs, and it was a total crapshoot on how we perform profit-wise as well as quality-wise. When I walked out 1 year later to start JobTread, we had the ability to manage 70 to 80 concurrent jobs. We barely hired any people, and we were hitting our target profit margins. We're hitting our quality goals. We're hitting our budgets, our time frames, and so it's so important that you get a system in place to help you do that. And that's what we're trying to do here with JobTread. We want to make this available to as many contractors, builders, whatever it is. Like we want to help you manage your sales, your estimating, delivering those high quality proposals, making sure that you're winning that business. And then when you do win it, we want to help you hit your target profit margins, stay on time and on budget, and increase your profits. Our goal is to help as many people to grow their business and to be as successful as possible, because that's how we win. That's how you win. The customer wins. We can all win here by leveraging technology and being smart and running our businesses in the most efficient and successful way. And so hopefully this presentation was helpful to you. We'd love for you to schedule a demo. You can just go to jobtread.com/demo if you'd like to learn more about what we can do for you. Make sure that, it'll be a good fit. But we really want to help you take your business to the next level. And, I appreciate your time here today. I look forward to hearing from you.